Giaritelli, and she's the Washington Examiner Homeland Security reporter. She does a great job. I want to read an article that she wrote. I'm going to read part of it. 5 years ago, I was violently attacked and sexually assaulted in broad daylight in Washington, D.C. by a homeless man. He served time in federal prison for what he did to me. But if you look for evidence of the attack that happened in the city's crime statistics, you will not find it. The truth of what happened to me and the D.C. government's role in it, as much as a public scandal as it is a personal trauma. D.C. police covered up this unspeakable wrong that this stranger did to me. Even though a judge sentenced my attacker to a hard time in prison, D.C. police leadership would rather deceive the public and appear less dangerous than list mine and countless other sexual assaults on their website. Anna Giaritelli joins us now. First of all, I'm very sorry about what you have gone through. You do a great job at the Examiner, and we appreciate your time.
Sean, thank you so much for amplifying my story.
You know, it's interesting because the New York Post today, I couldn't believe my eyes when I read this story about this guy, William Hathaway, took a woman to a Soho house in New York City in the West Village, where he was convicted of rape, according to a Manhattan jury. They found him guilty of rape, but even though the prosecution asked for 4 years in prison, the judge let him off with probation and, quote, sex offender treatment. I mean, for those people that have never been a victim of this kind of violent crime, I mean, I imagine it's the type of trauma that will stay with you for the rest of your life. I can't imagine the horror that you live through.
It is. And you know, it's taken years of recovery. It's been 5 years since it happened, and that's why it's taken me time to speak out now. And, you know, I am a crime reporter. I've been to the border over 60 times. I work with the federal law enforcement every day, and I had no idea how covered up crime is in D.C. until I became a victim and said I have to speak out because no one's doing anything until now. And you're right. It's an incredibly personal thing, and I don't hold it against other victims for not speaking out. But I think if the Trump administration really wants to fix this problem, they need to know how deep it is. And we don't even have accurate crime stats at this point to know how bad it is.
Let's go into your case. I mean, to the extent you're comfortable, I don't want you to have to revisit the entire trauma, but just to paint the picture for this audience, what did you go through? What happened? What time of day was it? And then the impact it had on your life. And then the fact that DC, you know, police and prosecutors, whoever's involved in this, are covering up the fact that your crime even ever took place.
Yeah, it was a Saturday in April 2020, Saturday morning, 9:30. I lived right outside Union Station, a few blocks from the U.S. Capitol. And I had a package I was going to mail at the post office on the other side of Union Station. And I was walking down the street. Other people were out. And a stranger, a large man, came at me and lunged at me. And in the process of trying to take me down, he sexually assaulted me. I was screaming for help. He was screaming on top of me. It was very, you don't know what's going on. Very chaotic. And someone did come initially run over, and others came and helped me. He got away that day, but police got DNA from my clothing. And 2 months later, told me there's been a match. He has a criminal history. He's homeless. He lives close to your apartment building on 2nd Street Northeast. And they arrested him a month later. The judge ordered him released the following day. And in the nearly 2 years it took us to go to trial, he was arrested 5 more times, including for having a machete in public, and was released from jail all 5 times the following day after his arrest. And so I mean,
you're describing madness. I've got to imagine that has got to be infuriating for you.
It was infuriating. And you know, after that type of crime, you're not in your right mind. It was COVID in D.C. was nuts because we were all locked in. I lived by myself on the 6th floor of a building. I saw no one every day, and trying to overcome that, and then understand at the same time that, you know, your city is gaslighting you. It's not a big deal. We're gonna try him by the feds. You know, it's a big deal, but it's also not a big deal. And at the end of the day, saying I can't, you know, rely on the city to have my back. I felt physically unsafe, but I felt so let down by the city I loved. My career is in D.C. I'm in politics and media. There's no other place to do that. And so I left with nowhere to go because I didn't feel like I had a choice.
All right, quick break. We'll come right back. More with Anna Giaritelli. Look, likely that lasts all.
Washable soap.
Feel better and live. The IRS personally. No, get the pros. We've got to be on high alert here at home. Firearm, and you can put it in your. Discovered that D.C. and the government there, that they are purposefully not reporting sexual assaults like yours on their website, and they're doctoring the numbers because this now is coming into the forefront.
Yeah, and that article you mentioned, I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg for how deep it is. And what I uncovered in 2020 after the attack, I was writing a story on violent crime. Trying to get back to work myself, despite what I've been through. And I noticed on the crime map at the time, they used to put pins on the map for exactly where a crime had occurred. And I noticed there was no pin on the map where what was a sex abuse crime had occurred. And when I spoke with the police, they said, we're only posting first-degree felonies on our public-facing crime map. And my charge was not a first-degree sex crime. It was a lower degree. And so for the next 5 years, that set the tone for you don't matter. You know, what you went through, it was incredibly invalidating to me. And then last week, I reached back out to the police to double check and see where things stand now. What are they putting on that crime map? They're no longer using pins. They're being less specific and color coding regions and neighborhoods in certain colors and not giving a detailed breakdown. And they said to me, for sex abuse crimes, we're only placing first degree and some second degree crimes on the map. And so first degree is rape. Second degree, some of those are attempted rape crimes. In this case, I wasn't one of those charges. I was a different charge or different degree. And so they said, no, your charge is not on here. And I said, he went to federal prison. Don't you think he should be listed? And they didn't respond. So that's where we stand today.
This guy is a repeat offender, and you have the typical, defund, dismantle, no bail law mentality in D.C., like New York, like places in California, for example. How long did this guy go to jail for the crime against you?
Well, I found out at sentencing that he had attempted to hurt, if not kill, an off-duty female police officer in the same neighborhood, just a few weeks earlier. And so that sentence was combined with mine and with the 5 other arrests that were pled down to misdemeanors. And he did around 2 years in prison for everything combined. And he's been released since then.
And I hope he's not living 5 blocks from your house like you found out months after the assault took place.
No, I chose to leave D.C. and I haven't returned. I don't feel safe. And, it's